Sly.
Spook.
Do you know what the definition of insanity is? It's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result each time.
You mean with Nathan Buckley as coach?
No, I mean me buying a membership to this tribe every year. One day I'll learn.
Welcome to the Collingwood Rant. I'm Sly.
And I'm fucking hell, Spook.
Round 4, loss to an undermanned GWS side at the MCG on this wet, slippery day. Jeez.
Do you know, if you take last week's episode and rewind it, and you'll clearly hear me say that we'll lose this by 30 points.
Yeah, you wish. You were one of the foolish, optimistic people out there who thought we'd beat them.
No, I think I was taking the piss.
Going into this game, Tom Clown on Twitter said, "The Pies have stuck with Sire and Hoskin Elliott. They were good analysis articles, but I was iffy on how both players were singled out for their narrow loss. A lot of lapses to blame. Honestly, Tom, you're a fucking journalist. We'll work out what punctuation is and grammar. But we went in with we brought in Bo McCreary, and we brought in that spring chicken, Levi Greenwood, as the medical sub.
As the super sub.
Super sub. Should we have dropped Hoskin Elliott and Thomas?
From where?
From
a tall building?
From the Bermuda Triangle that is our forward line. Where
no.
forward entries go to die.
See, I mean, clearly the fact that Hoskin Elliott for the first time in 2 years decided to play half a football and Josh Thomas kicked a goal that mattered nothing, that's earned them another 12 months. Can we move on from those two now?
I thought Hoskin Elliott was actually good against Carlton.
Who's his biggest fan now?
But you look at this game and it really, and I've probably said this before, definition of insanity, exemplifies everything wrong with Collingwood, endeavour, lots of inside 50s, an absolute lack of system moving the ball forward. They look really gun-shy on taking the game on. You have a ruckman, you're paying $7 million to get mauled by a 48-year-old opponent every time we play. He's like
break glass, Mumford.
He's like a mummy.
Used in case of emergency.
Literally like a mummy. They just open the esophagus and sarcophagus, and just say, "Come out."
I think he tried to open someone's esophagus.
Yeah. And
Grundy goes, "Ooh, I'm scared," and does a Scooby-Doo run.
How seriously fucked up
is Collingwood?
Yeah,
pretty fucked.
Okay, so I get criticised a lot from various quarters for criticising Jack Crisp. So Crisp got 19 kicks, 11 handballs, and 1 tackle.
Oh, does that include the one on himself?
Probably did. 30 disposals. You go, well, that was pretty good, wouldn't you?
Gee, that's pretty good.
At 40% disposal efficiency.
That's not so good.
And this is, I think we have a tendency to overrate our players, and here's a really good example. Sidebottom's another one who I think did nothing in the first half, came alive in the second half, and was that typical Sidebottom game of being lively and doing nothing. Jack Magden.
He's probably the next Brownlow medalist.
On the wing.
Yeah.
On the wing.
On the wing, and then run back into defence.
On the wing. Nathan Buckley, just leave a comment. I want you to explain how the rationale was, well, Tom Phillips has been superseded by Josh Dacos, and now Josh Dacos is playing up forward, and Jack Magden is playing on the wing. I want someone to explain that rationale to me.
Well, the club explained it today, saying it was a supreme move, and we're going to be seeing a lot of it this year.
The only way
I can only assume that he'll be the only one left standing by about round 5.
The only way I can actually buy in is, imagine they want some bigger bodies around the ball because they just get out-bustled so easily. But still, really, this is no problem with Collingwood. You're putting guys, and Magden was okay. However, Magden, 15 kicks, 10 handballs, 2 tackles, 56% disposal efficiency. You're putting...
No, forget all that. He kicked goal of the year. And now everyone go out and vote on it.
And like a lot of players at Collingwood that we tend to push up on the ball, Crisp is another one. Crisp has murdered the ball consistently.
He's like Jack the Ripper.
For the year. Oh, that's what he should be nicknamed. He has those great games, he has those bad games, but he has those games where he really mauls disposal. And it's nothing new to have found that, hey, he disposed of it at 40% disposal efficiency. Even though I was assured that at the end of the trade period last year, we got rid of our 2 worst users of the ball. No. There are still a few around.
Excuse me, it's COVID.
Yep.
I was going to say, do you think Champion Data should have a maul stat?
They should.
It really would shake up fantasy football or whatever it's called this week.
I don't know what it's called. Toby Green killed Isaac Quaynor.
Did he?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, I didn't notice that.
Kicked 4 goals. They moved Maynard onto him. I know they're saying Maynard curtailed Green, but then they're looking and going, you often get these games where like a player will kick 4 goals or whatever, and then he'll just disappear for the rest of the game in terms of kicking goals. I don't think Maynard did anything great. Maynard looks a shell of the player who...
Yeah, it's a strange one, that one. That gets back to my theory.
What's that?
About the group being... the coaches lost them.
Oh, okay.
I don't think a lot of them are playing with anything near spirit and endeavour at the moment, and there's got to be a reason for it.
I don't think the coaches lost them. I think this is really just emblematic of the fact that you got a coach who has no game plan. His game plan over the last 10 years has been intensity, win the hard ball, tackle lots. And how long can you maintain that? Because...
Only 10 years.
But how long can you actually maintain it and be a good side? We've done it...
1 year?
But if you go back to... This is the thing, is like, because, 218 made a grand final, everyone thinks, we're a good team on the slide. It's like, no, the reality is now, we're just back to who we were 2013, 2017.
We're back on course.
Yeah, you're seeing exactly what you were seeing back then. And you saw this breaking down from 219 to 220, and it's happening now. For small periods it clicks for whatever reason, we don't actually know. To be honest, I think there's catalysts who get the team moving. And to give you an example, I think you go to the victory over Carlton. I think Taylor Adams is the catalyst to get everyone around him working well, because he was winning so much contested ball and getting centre clearances that allowed everyone to run around him, which had really quick forward entries, which brought our forwards into it. And suddenly we looked dangerous. And again, Hoskins looked better when the team was functioning and feeding him, and he was able to finish. But when those players get knocked out of it, and you have a really, really shallow midfield. You have Pendlebury at 33, no longer have Adams, and then who? You have Sidebottom. Sidebottom is more of an outside player, a link player. Sire. Okay, we'll talk about Sire. Why would you pick someone with gastro?
I mean, surely it just didn't come on a quarter time. He would have been spewing. And if you're off there emptying all nether regions of the body with gastro, and the doc goes, "You're right to play," and you go, "Yep, no worries, mate, I'll be there." You wouldn't just think maybe there's something off.
I can only imagine that pre-game, when they were laying down the tactics, Buckley was giving his address, that vomiting is just common to that event.
Oh, it might be nerves.
So, yeah, and that's what they thought. It was like, that's just nerves. I've never ever seen a player go down with gastro in the middle of a game. In the middle of a game. It's
injury sub. It really should probably be ailment sub at the end of the day now. What about toothache? Do you think maybe someone can go out next week with bad toothache?
At this club, it's possible. Oh. And then you go to Grundy, we're talking about a breaking down. So I think in 2019, he covered for a lot of deficiencies when he started winning games out of the ruck by just grabbing it and kicking the ball. He looks a total shell of whoever he was a couple of years ago. Michael Gleeson wrote a good article about him. Opposition teams are presently unconcerned that Grundy's hit-out numbers very routinely high, because they only worry if those hit-outs translate to high clearances in Collingwood. They do not. I really wish we mentioned this 2.5 years ago. Oh, wait, we did. Grundy has little aerial presence around the ground for a man of his size. Well, we mentioned that too. Collingwood needs big men to play like big men. Well, they've only got 2.5, and Moore does play like a big man. And Grundy presently is not. Grundy averages 3 marks a game this year, which also was his average last year. Max Gawn, his All-Australian periods, on 6 a game this year. While Tim English, who's 12 years of age and weighs about 45 kilos, is averaging 7 a game. And this goes back to what we've always said. Grundy is great ruck rover. He's not a great ruckman. Mm-hmm. And if he's losing that athleticism to grab the ball out of the ruck and do everything himself and all that sort of stuff, what do you have in the ruck other than just a big ruck rover? You might as well go ruck Hoskin Elliott or someone like that.
Ooh, someone hard.
You look at the side and all the pieces we have in place. So we talked about this last week. Sydney said we need to be more attacking. They got Don Pike on board. Melbourne said we just need to be harder. They got Mark Williams on board. Collingwood said we need to be more average. So they kept Robert Harvey and Brenton Sanderson.
We brought Jamara in though.
Well, great. Hopefully you can solve everything, because
he was good in Aladdin.
It's one of the biggest problems is this administration and the brain trust at this club are continuing to back something that is not fucking working. And you have to acknowledge, succession plan didn't work.
I think we can say that out loud now.
It did not work. Whether Malthouse...
even though we tried to make it work for 10 years.
10 years. Whether Malthouse would have done anything more or not is now irrelevant, because we expected the new coach to come in and to carry him into a new period of contention, and they had 1 year of contention, and it came, 7 years into his reign? And it really came as a surprise.
It vanished pretty quick.
But if you look at, you get a succession, and we've talked about this often, they backed him to carry this club into a new era, a new dynasty. They were sitting on top of the league. They won a flag. They made a grand final. I still think they had a young enough team that they could have contended for another 4 or 5 years. Mm-hmm. I know people say, no, there was this and that, and it wouldn't have happened. We'll never know. But then Buckley started clearing out a lot of that premiership squad under the guise of a cultural reinvention. They then missed the finals for 3 years in a row, 14, 15, 16. Going to 2017, they brought Gubby Allen in. And we know, or we are led to believe, that Gubby Allen was given the instruction from someone higher up at the club. Let's call him, Oliver, you should know who it is.
The president.
Yeah. Do whatever you need to do to get Collingwood into the finals. Because the issue there was the supporter unrest, which was, they were really starting to turn...
Feral?
Feral, I was going to look at seditious.
Oh, we can't use big words like that. Will just confuse me.
Graham Allen then went and got Chris Mayne and Daniel Wells and Lyndon Dunn to try and shore up the...
Youth?
Yeah, well, I mean, because of our poor recruiting, we had like this big hole in this list. 2017, they still missed the finals. Everyone was really looking at Colin. Crowds were down. You had a lot of people who were dissatisfied. A lot of people were disgruntled. You know, obviously you were always going to have, what do you call those things in kebabs? Sheep? That are going to support the club regardless.
Be kind to the sheep, will you? There's a lot of them.
But there was a lot of people turning against them, and you've mentioned this quite a lot. That then 2018 they made a grand final, and that was a band-aid over a lot of the unrest. And everyone, you know, including myself, thought, okay, finally, this is where we have climbed to the top of the mountain and we'll have a period of contention for 4 years or whatever, which, you know, most clubs, when they get to the top, they stay up there for a little while. We then started to, go backwards, recruited Beams. Apparently we had some salary cap problems, but we decided, well, let's sign Stevenson to another 2 years, whatever, 600,000. Let's sign Treloar to 5 years and all this sort of stuff. Even though they must have been aware there were salary cap problems, and from what we heard last week, this was something they knew was there for quite a while, but they still tried to finagle their way across it. And
it looked good on the spreadsheets.
Yeah, well, except for that column they missed. And as the team deteriorated over the next 2 years, and, you know, people are throwing excuses, but that's what they are, excuses. Other clubs managed their way around it. As the club deteriorated, or as the team's efforts deteriorate, again, that unrest has come. And now you're going into, round 5 this week? And if you check social media, there's a lot of people who are now unhappy. And they're unhappy on the back of what, you know, I believe is you go back to that 2017 unrest, that's back. People are going, okay, this, you fucked up. You tried to back this guy to bring the club to a new future. It hasn't worked. You've then messed up your list management. You've messed up your salary cap. We've had injury problems for fucking 10 years. And for about 5 days years, we've been in the top 4 for injuries or whatever.
We're good at something then.
Yeah. You've had issues racially. You've had administrative issues. Your former president had verbal gaffe after verbal gaffe after verbal gaffe. And we are now sitting on 1-3. Going to play West Coast next week. No one's going to believe we're going to win that. Someone might go, oh, but we beat him in the finals last year. Okay, well, we had a few more players at that time, like not just Jaden Stevenson and Adam Treloar. And I had a discussion with someone on Twitter who's going, oh, well, Treloar didn't really do anything. Well, he actually equaled top possessions for us in that final. And then you have another guy named Taylor Adams who's missing. And Jamie Elliott who's missing. Brody Grundy's missing. You have a few players who are really not producing. There's no way we're going to get anywhere near them.
You wouldn't think so.
This is getting uglier and uglier by the week. Maybe they can shore it up until after Anzac Day. I think Essendon will actually smash him also. But we'll talk about that in a couple of weeks. Then they have a couple of possibly winnable games against Gold Coast and North.
What do you mean possible?
Impossible. I don't think I don't think they're givens anymore.
No, it's very concerning. And just to get back on what you said earlier too, I think the easy thing is, and a lot of people will look to Buckle as the figurehead of blame on this. You've really got to look at the bigger picture of everything that's become dysfunctional at Collingwood. Ultimately, Bucks will be moved on, whether he pulls the plug himself, or whether he sees out the season. But there's just no way he can't be in the role next year. But there's a whole bunch of other people at Collingwood behind the scenes who shouldn't be in their roles either. And we're looking at the board here. Really, there needs to be a wipeout because we are going to be looking at you can't be optimistic at the moment.
No.
You're going to be looking at a number of years to rebuild, and that's just not the on-field playing list. It's about the processes. It's about the way that the club is. It's about how we're going to be generating interest with sponsors and all that sort of thing inside of this COVID environment on the back of incredibly poor performance and incredibly poor managed administration. There has to be a telling that happens out of this. And if we all have to take 3 steps backwards to go forward again, it's going to have to be on a wide berth.
Well, the other thing too is people say it turns around quickly. I don't think it's going to turn around quickly this time, because if you compare this to the other time it turned around quickly, which is 2006, 2010, you lost to guys like Buckley, Burns, Lucuria, Rocker, Wakeland, Clement, Prestes eventually went. But then you were picking up guys like Brown, Reid, Pendles, Daisy, Ball, Sidey, Beams, Swan, and then even the rookies they were nailing with Maxwell, Lumumba, Tuvey, Blair, McCaffer. A lot of those guys were just hits for him, and they really built a great nucleus who could just transition immediately from that previous era, which was the 202-203 grand final, to the next era, which won the 2010 flag, and then someone also compared it to like about 99, where they were going, oh well, we were really struggling then, and I feel that we were. But then again, if you look at that list at that time, that list had Buckley, who was one of the best players in the league at that time. Well, he was for about the next 5 years. He was one of the best players in the league. Burns, great player. Lucuria, Rocker, the 2 Rockers, Presti, and then there's a few sort of peripheral players who helped form the nucleus of what was going to become their 202-203 grand final assaults. And then they recruited really well generally when they picked up guys like Clement and Wakeland and all that. So in both cases, they had a really good core to build on. And to now, I don't see that core there outside of Darcy Moore. He's probably the one genuine superstar they have. Adams is a good player, but I'm not going to call him a superstar. The Goey is really struggling at the moment. And the other thing you've got to look at too, we're going to miss the finals this year, and in all likelihood you'll miss them again next year. There's no guarantee that guys like the Goey and Moore are going to stay. They might just look at it and go, well, this rebuild's not going to hit finals for another 3 years. I'm out of here on free agency. And both those players have positioned their contracts to expire, so they can explore free agency. So I don't think there's going to be a quick turnaround here. And if you look at the entire, as we were talking, the powerbrokers behind the club, they've fucked us up and they've put us in this position. How can they expect it to steer us out of this? I don't have any confidence in anyone there. If this was like a corporation, I would be voting, or a Senate, I'd be voting for no confidence in anyone there outside of Graham Wright, who just showed up last year. The rest of them should go.
Yeah, I mean, you get to there's no sense of progression with what's happening with the happening with the replacement of the presidency. So you've got the Corder and whatever his name was, the guy from RoboCop, Murphy, co-presidenting, but they're just not talking about what they're doing, what their process is involved. I would think logically, based on our charter or whatever it is for the club, it's something that the social club and legends members of that should be voting on, but it sounds like they're going to appoint, but nothing's been spoken about it. And you would think, if you want to instill some stability at the moment, you've got to replace the head, and see what happens underneath. But we're just treading water at the moment, and I think part of it, I think, is that knock-on effect that's happening with why we're looking listless out there on the field. There's obviously a massive air of uncertainty around Collingwood. Certainly is externally, but internally it must be permeating into there too, and having an impact on that list. And you're seeing those results. And I think this is something we suspected was going to happen, that after the trade debacle and the racism debacle, it was going to fall apart.
But you've also made a really good point of the fact that they constantly misread the room. And as far as I'm concerned, that they're just being silent and talking about who's going to be the successor within is, again, misreading the room. They should be throwing this open to their members, who they slapped in the face last year with the ridiculous trade period. You know, the bad thing about the trade period, I would have hated it, but if they actually came out and just said, look, we fucked up the salary cap. We did, you know. There were clauses in previous contracts that, you know, were activated because of this and that, and, you know, we really just felt like we have to face it now because it's just going to become too hard to manage. If they came out and were just totally honest from the beginning, I would have hated that we got rid of those players, but at least I would have respected the club for being honest about it. Rather than all the shit they sold, you know, you had Ned Guy coming out, then you had Walsh coming out just saying, oh, there's no salary cap issue. And then you had Buckley coming out going, oh, there is a salary cap issue. And then you had Mark Anderson coming out saying, oh, we're clearing room for the free agents. And then you had Eddie Guy coming out, oh, it's all a beat up. It's like, there's 5 of you, get your fucking story straight. You know, this is why...
You couldn't lie straight in bed.
But this is, you know, this is how administrations fall, because people are telling different things. And the thing that really frustrates me is you look at the regular media and people, you know, you call journalists who are appearing on Twitter and shit, and no one has actually followed this up. No one's actually said anything. No one's actually said, why did 5 people at Collingwood, 5 key figures at Collingwood, all sell a different story? How did you get into this mess? Why did you lie to your fans? Because you fucking did that. You lied. You said there's no salary cap issue. No media has actually pushed this was incompetence on the grandest scale, and now you're seeing this reflected on field because the club is in such disarray. Damien Barrett wrote an article where he said they should get their administration in order, which is probably the first time in the history of anything I've ever agreed.
Has he got a ghostwriter?
Yeah, probably. It's probably me. Brendan McCartney said about Nathan Buckley. Yeah. Thanks, Brendan.
How much was he potentially drinking that day?
The one thing they should do is sign him up, Buckley, now and shut everyone up. Because he's consistently shown that he's a fantastic football person. Who gives a fuck? And he's consistently had his club thereabouts for a significant period of time. 2 years is significant to you, is it?
I think thereabouts is anywhere in the top 16.
Historically, they've managed a pretty solid injury list. That's not like a selling point. That's the one thing they should do as a club, is just settle down and let him get on with the job. I don't think anyone at the club is stopping him from getting on with his job. They've got some ripping football people there and some tremendous senior players, and they've been brave. They have gone to the draft in the last couple of years. We got Stevenson and traded him! And put some kids on their list, which will take some time. How long was he coach of the Bulldogs? About 2 years?
Yeah, about that. I think his point, though, is pretty fair, though, that history will tell you that by the third decade, most coaches have worked the caper out by then.
Yeah. That stunned me, you know. If you take it the first 2 years of Buckley's reign as being a carryover from the Malthouse time of that list, because he then traded out that list, it hasn't been a great coaching record. No. You know? And most coaches wouldn't get 4 years out of the finals and be backed to still coach the team.
Not only that, and we were talking about it a little bit earlier, it's just amazing, like on the news tonight, they had a little bit of a snippet with Kane Corns, and you know he's backing Bucks to the hilt. The question was asked, do you think he can turn around? He goes, oh no, but you're still backing him to the hilt. And it's amazing how much leeway the Bucks has given. Now, we obviously think that, I don't think he's ever sort of said a bad word against anyone. His reputation out there
must be... He's a fantastic football person.
Yeah, he's obviously an all-round nice guy and stuff, but still, to escape scrutiny, and then it'll obviously change a little bit this year, but like even after the weekend, nothing really has come out. And the thing is, like, nobody's really attacking him at this stage. They're talking with reasoned argument around things that the bulk of people have probably been saying for years. And you can't imagine that Buck sits there and reads, whether he reads it or not's another thing. But if he sat there and read that and go, well, I'm surprised by this, it just doesn't sort of, I just don't understand the leeway. I've
said often, you can't blame him for everything because he wasn't in charge of the salary cap. He's not entirely in charge of the list management. From what we understand, he has input, but that's it. Someone else oversees it. So he has to play with the players they're giving him. And even like getting rid of the Trelaw and Stevenson and Phillips, I'm sure that the administrators above him, the football department, came to him and said, we're this much over the cap, we need to cut this much money, and these are the alternatives. And he's gone, well, okay, these are the ones I think probably should go. That's what I imagine would happen. He's not going to be the one who signs the contracts and fucks up the salary cap and then has to... So I think he's suffered during his tenure from a really poor footballing department around him for the bulk of his coaching career. And at the start of it, he had all these different football managers. You know, he had Baum and Allen for a couple of weeks and Walsh, and then it changed, and Pert. But as someone who went into coach originally, after 10 years, you know, I'm sort of looking at him and going, no, I'm sorry, this is done. This, you've had... And if he was showing me something on the field where I'm going, okay, I can see what you're trying to do, and I believe you are the person to oversee where we're going, then I'd be going, oh, great, well, fine, back him in, even if it's the 11th year. But I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing the same problems that outside of 1 year, 2018, 1 year, they've been consistently propping up these, you know, the breakdown in the game plan, the vulnerability on the counter attack, the poor forward 50 entries, the poor skills, the poor decision making, the strange selection choices. The Grundy thing, the Grundy midfield connection is just a fucking farce now. You know, we did mention this 3 years ago, whatever it was, and they still haven't fixed it. After 219, and we'll mention it before, after 219 prelim where he got 84 taps or whatever it was, and about 2 went to advantage, and they said, yes, we're seeing this as an issue. Now we're a season and a bit in, and it's still a fucking issue, and then your ruckman looks seriously down on confidence, and looks like he doesn't know how to relate to the people around him. How much do you think and just to throw in the side, how much do you think the contract is weighing on Grundy? And
well, it's only 4 weeks old. It couldn't be really pressing that much.
Do you think he's looking at the contract and thinking this contract contributed to the exit of free players?
I think we did talk about that earlier on today as well.
You bring it up, yeah.
That I wonder if he would be holding himself responsible. He seems to be that caring, sharing type that would think, well, fuck, you know, aside from crippling Taylor Adams for 2 months, I've derailed the careers of 3 people who wanted to be here. That must be pressing on him. And you wonder off to the side, and we talked a little bit about this last year about the way that he came out and admitted afterwards too that the hub life wasn't particularly engrossing for him. But how much I don't know what the sort of role would be, whether it's psychological or whatever. What do they call them? Sports psychologists. Whether we have anyone on the payroll left that would be looking at that sort of thing and trying to make that be smoothed over a little bit. But I think that's probably a gut feel that's part true as well.
I heard we did have a sports psychologist who took the players in the group session but left halfway through with gastro.
Oh, excuse me. I should get up and leave.
Do you notice now, particularly on social media, the club is massively into spin? The 5 things we learned, we lose by 30 points, you think, realistically it should be like, yeah, you know, we're really struggling here, there. But all we're hearing about, Jack Magden, wingman, ooh, how good's that? He's the new fucking Robbie Flower, apparently. I just skimmed that 5 things we've learned because I find it the most farcical thing I've ever seen since the last Ryan Johnson movie. It's just total spin to the point that, you know, you're reading again, surely this is satire. Surely you're just taking the piss now.
It was Gleeson that wrote that article this morning, wasn't it? That was
yeah.
It? Yeah. So I woke up this morning half an hour before I went to bed, and the first things that was linked in the phone when it beeped was that Gleeson article. I read that and I thought, that's really good and it's balanced. And I thought, I'll go and see what Twitter's saying about it, because Twitter's usually an impartial and rational place of impartial. We invent new words on Twitter. It's a great place to go and have a really reasoned discussion with people of like mind and reasonable outlooks. So the first thing I see there, and then it was literally about 2 minutes old, was that article and the 5 things we learned. And I read it, and I'm thinking, we won that game by 78 points, surely.
Oh.
It's like, you can't do this at this moment. Because all you're doing is fanning the flames of angst.
Again,
because
misreading the room.
we are bleeding, and you as the club are sitting there going, well, it's all sunshine and lollipops here. You should come over the fence and have a look. It's wonderful. It's like that when they break through the wall in Roger Rabbit and all the toons are all happy and stuff. That's Collingwood land out there. There's no reality in there, Greg. It is just absolute borderline delusion. And that's how they're portraying themselves at the moment. It's like, again, like what we said a couple of weeks ago with the Do Better report and all that sort of thing, they just can't put a foot right at the moment. And if you're consistently not doing that and you're not engaging with your supporter base correctly, then maybe you need to take a step back and shut the fuck up for a while and not say anything.
I would love for this club to show some humility. I know they won't because that's not in their DNA. But geez, as you said, I mean, reading the shit that they're putting out there, you'd think we're being back-to-back premiers, everything's looking good for a three-peat. There are no issues with the president, with the coach, with the assistants, with the players at the club. No one's left or anything. It must be the sweetest place on earth, and it fucking isn't. While we're talking about some great journalism, on Twitter earlier in the week, Tom Brown reported there was massive injury scares to Steele Sidebottom and Jordan DeGoey on the back of Taylor Adams' knee issue. And then a couple of days later, he said, well, the club tells me they're fine.
I still think they're dead.
Good work, Tom. Good work. Really.
It's going to be a hard job to make up that much stuff a day.
Ex-player watch. Bulldogs defeated Lions by 19 points. Trelaw, 17 kicks, 12 handballs, 10 tackles, but only 48% disposal efficiency.
That's because he burns everything.
Yeah. Oh, half of it. Adelaide defeated North by 41 points. Stevenson, 12 kicks, 5 handballs, 4 tackles, kick 2-2, 59% disposal efficiency. I didn't see either of these games, so I can't comment on what happened.
Had the old flippery-dippery-do go.
Dockers defeated Hawthorn by 15 points. Phillips, 12 kicks, 7 handballs, 6 marks, 1 tackle, kicked 1-1, 68% disposal efficiency.
Yeah,
so
still pretty solid contributions, aren't they?
Look, the Stevenson one, when you're getting smashed... And
how did Thomas go? Because he's better than all of them.
I don't bother looking at players who no longer contribute.
It just makes me hungry for donuts.
You said you got a little bit angry when you were seeing the Stevenson stats, Mark. Accumulate.
Did I?
Yeah. You said you might be really angry. You don't remember this?
Oh, it's still... I mean, the whole Stevenson thing still burns me. I don't think I'll ever not look at him running around in a North jumper and not get angry. So that's all it was at the time. It does bug me. I think that kid's got so much upside and potential, and we shot it right in the foot.
What a shock. AFLW, commiserations. They lost in a valiant effort against Brisbane Lions. I only saw about half the game, unfortunately, because I had something on. But as you mentioned, they really seem to need like a key forward who's going to contest and bring the ball around.
That seems to be the difference between Brisbane and them on the day. But Brisbane had that, I mean, don't ask me her name, but that really tall forward that was just taking everything. I think it was Scrum, and she was just taking pretty much everything and was a presence in the forward line, and we seem to still rely on a lot of that chaos football going in.
Yeah.
And again, it's just... look, kudos to that side, and actually kudos to the whole AFLW. The improvement this year has been phenomenal across the board in the skills.
I think it would have been even better if the AFL admin didn't introduce so many new teams and spread the talent even thinner.
Yeah, that may have. I mean, you look at Adelaide; they're probably going to win the flag comfortably again this year. They've dominated now for 24 years of a 4-year comp. There's going to be a lot of struggle sides for a while, but for our list, I think the quality is really starting to sort of come to the surface. The Brianna Davies is an absolute gun, and you really like watching that type of player run around. I wish we had some in the male side.
Well, speaking of the male side, we play West Coast this Friday night.
Do we just turn up? No, we're not playing.
Over there, Taylor Adams is out for up to 10 weeks. At Collingwood, that's probably 20 weeks. So Adams and Elliott, effectively, that's their season.
Oh, you would think so. And look, but the thing is too, look, obviously moving forward, we're going to have a balancing act of senior players and blooding youth. Because they won't come back till the arse end of the season, because that's the Collingwood way, they'll cotton ball them, surely, won't they?
I would hope so, unless they really feel that they need injection of seniority there. What I hope doesn't happen is where, like, 3 wins and 12 losses, and someone in that fantastic admin says, just get them out there as a PR thing.
We need to sell some badges.
We need to,
because the funds are quite low.
You know, and usually in that sort of season, you would just say, hey, 4 weeks, fuck it, we'll carry you over to next year, get yourself right for next year rather than risk you. Now, that's what you think, but, Adam's massive loss because he's the one midfielder in there who actually consistently provides genuine grunt. You're still hoping that Sai will somewhere find...
there's probably a real strong chance he might get diphtheria this week, halfway through the game.
Well, you'd think that if he was going to be dropped...
He'll be quarantined, won't he, for the malaria or something? The WA government won't let someone that chronically ill into the state, will they?
Well, probably not. Who would you bring in? Adams is definitely out. Tom Brown said the goalie and signs on him had issues, and then they didn't have issues. Thomas played pretty average. I thought Hoskinelli had a really good second half. I still think they both should be dropped for other alternatives, but I do think they're 2 players, given the way we set up and they're playing as forwards, they really need to benefit from some constructive forward entries. Like we're getting in 2018, they're not the issue at the moment. Like, they're symptomatic of problems at the team, but the bigger problems are that fucking engine room is totally rooted. And the Grundy midfield relationship has never been worse. And I know people will say, well, we don't have a great midfield, which we don't, but I mean, the benefit you're meant to get from a dominant ruckman is that he can put it to positions that your inferior midfield can move to mitigate the disparity between the quality of your midfield and the opposition midfield. We haven't seen that, and that's 3 years running. And West Coast have a really strong midfield, and Nick Nat consistently dominates Grundy. So, what do you think might happen? Who do you think might come in?
Darcy Cameron, because 3 tolls would be the way that we beat West Coast, isn't it?
Well, Philly McRae would have to be a chance.
I'm being serious here.
I'm being serious.
Only because Bucks has talked up Darcy Cameron every 8 seconds.
You think McCreary would keep his position? He was the player.
Oh, definitely. I liked his debut.
Yeah, terrible ponytail, but
he's got a little. He's got a fair bit of grunt about him.
It was the player of the week at the club.
That wouldn't be difficult, though, would it? Just turning up and get you that.
I actually
not vomiting on the floor would probably get it to you.
I actually thought when Greenwood came on, he added a bit of grunt to the midfield and a bit of strength and all that. His disposal wasn't great, but just in terms of attacking the ball, I thought he was invaluable in creating chemistry and synergy with the other midfielders to try and counter what GWS are doing. I mean, as far as GWS goes, we lose them regularly. West Coast, we've had a decent record against them in the last few years, outside of grand final. Do you think we're any hope?
No. What did the Saints come back from? About 112-point deficit and run over the top of them? You don't think they'd be stinging for retribution when they get home in their own pitch?
You think they'll also be stinging out of the finals last year?
Well, that's twofold then, isn't it? And we'll just be stinging. So, no, I don't think we are much of a chance whatsoever. Look, anything that you do now about how many kids you bring into the side is the start of waving the white flag. And I don't know whether they're ready to be seen to be doing that. So I think there'll be probably 2 or 3 changes. Like the likes of Brown and Thomas and all the other serial non-performers. Hoskin bought himself half a game. But really, are these guys the future? What's the point in playing them at the moment?
Depends what you're
going to get similar output from a first game. Now, you can't keep playing them.
No.
But maybe just make a stand. Maybe just say, fuck it, and try and throw some excitement back into this side.
I'll tell you what frustrates me a lot.
Collingwood?
I'll tell you what else frustrates me a lot. Is Buckley starting to play Pendlebury forward. And it's like, are you doing that to insulate him because of his age and to take a bit of the workload off, or is that because you're trying to find a new option with Pendlebury because he is a classy player and all that? And I think if it's because you're trying to find another option, it's a really stupid fucking move because you have so little class in the midfield and you're taking the one player with class out of there and then moving him into an area of the field where we deliver the ball so haphazardly, it doesn't matter that he's down there. You could put anyone down there at the moment as long they're not delivering the ball really well. So I can understand if Buckley's trying to nurse him through the latter years of his career, but if that's not the case, Pendlebury should just be on the fucking ball. That's all it should be. I would love to see Buckley. I know he won't do it, but I'd love to see him throw the team around. I'd love to see Darcy Moore play at full forward.
You may have mentioned that once or twice.
Yeah, I'd love to see Quaynor on the wing. I'd love to see Josh Dacos on the other wing. I would love to see Maynard in the fucking middle because he's been really mediocre for about all of this year and about 10 games last year. Instead of, with no disrespect intended, instead of trying to find alternatives with Jack Magadan on the wing and all that, go for your players who, you know, are... Quaynor is genuinely an exciting talent. Maynard, you know, has been a really good talent for a while. Take the players with actual class and put them on the ball. Because what I'm seeing now is it's very Tony Shaw-esque, you know, 98, 99, when he took guys like Buckley, Brown, and Krasiska and played them on the half-back line, and he was starting in the midfield guys like Patterson and Wild and all that. It's like, you're putting all the plotters around the ball and then lining your guns in positions where they can only counter-attack. Take your fucking guns, put them around the ball. And if they can win the ball, then they can deliver...
excuse me, I've tried to hold that in for about 2 days.
They can deliver the ball with greater efficiency up forward, and hopefully they can provide pressure around the ball so it's not going into defenceless as much. That's what I'd be doing. I'd be playing all the guns around the ball and looking for the next midfield, because you go to last year, you think, before we did all the training, you think, oh, well, if Adams, Treloar, De Goey, Stevenson, Dacos, Nick Dacos to come later on, you're set for the midfield for the next 10 years. But now, because you've traded out two of the midfielders in, Treloar, and then you think Stevenson would have been there, it's a really shallow midfield now, and it's really low on class.
What would you do with De Goey there?
I would play him for about another month as a midfielder, but I think...
With Adams gone, surely he just has to walk in there now.
You'd think... My concern with De Goey is maybe he's just not a midfielder. Well, that's not a concern. The reality might be, you know what, look, you're really a power forward. That's where we need to play you as an explosive forward. You're getting a decent run in the midfield at times this year, and you're not really turning it on. You're looking a little bit lost. I know you've had good patches in the midfield in the past, but, you know, it's one of these things. Like, I remember with Heath Shaw when he was half-back, I used to say, put him in the midfield. And then they did for a little while. I was like, yeah, okay, just put him back. It's like, I don't mind experimenting with your classier players.
It shouldn't make me laugh.
Yeah, I don't mind experimenting with your classier players to put them around the ball, but if it doesn't work and you're getting a lot more out of them wherever they came from, and with De Goey, I think that's the case. He's a lot more dangerous as a forward. He hasn't really translated that into midfield potential. People might say it's because he's dropped a bit of weight, dropped a bit of muscle or whatever. I actually don't buy that, because it's not like he's anorexic now. He's still a pretty powerful young guy. No. So... unless there's other issues going on behind the scenes that are affecting his performance, and, you know, we know that there's been things with the go in the past, who knows? But right now, I'd probably give him about another month and just say, if it's not working, look, we are going to start looking at playing you more predominantly forward again, because that's where you can do more damage for us.
Fair.
Tips?
West Coast by 112.
Is that a serious tip?
No, sorry, 128.
All right, so I reckon we'll be competitive for about a quarter and a half, and the West Coast will smash us, and last quarter, the West Coast will take it easy and we'll kick some cheap goals and they'll win by about 63 points.
Okay. Well, either way, it's a drubbing.
Any final thoughts?
No, it's very much going to be a watch this space week to week with Collingwood at the moment. I do want to see... And look, there's not much you can do about the on-field stuff. It is what it is at the moment, and it's not going to probably get all that much better. But we need to see some other things start to happen. We need to see some movement towards what Collingwood 2021... Let me try this again in English. What Collingwood 2021 is going to start looking like before it becomes 2022.
You've seen the movie Flying High? You know, there's that scene when they say get in the crash positions and all the passengers sort of You know, they position themselves like they've been in the crash.
Do you think that's what the starting positions should look like before the first bounce?
That's Collingwood's 2021. That should be the image of just like all your admin and all that, just draped over tables and chairs and look like they've been in a wreck, because that's what 2021 looks like. Anyway, that's it from us. We'll talk to you next week.
Beautiful.
Later.
Go administration.